Bing, and we're live. There we go. Yeah, things on. Well, I guess let's start with you, Rajiv. How are things going with you?
Yeah, all right. I would like to. Am I echoing? I think.
No echo
No.
that I can hear. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Yeah, I've been going through the backlog, and I see a task which is writing a spec for parent layout, which was put on a back burner, I think, started by DMC. So I would like to pick that up and see if I can write a little test for parent layout in that spec file. So that's what I would like to pick up. So.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, cool. Nice one. All right. Yeah. Let's well I'll tell you what, yeah, why don't we can have a look at that together in a moment, getting started off.
Yeah.
Are you planning to work on that today, or what's your schedule like today?
Yeah, I will work first half, then I have to go to Makers. I got one-to-one with Spike, so
Sure,
I'll
yeah.
leave at about 11.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the same thing, actually. I don't have a one-to-one with Spike, but I'm going into Makers at 11. so all right, so we're on the same sort of time setup. Okay, yes. Let me just I'll just give you my update on the things that I've been working on. After the stand-up yesterday, I had a good sort of review session with Yana. We went through her pull request that she's put in, and yeah, she's already made some of the refactorings I suggested, and yeah, so that I'm very pleased about that. The main other thing that I've been doing is working on the Autograders project, which is a pure Ruby project, and I've been making reasonable progress with that. I'm quite pleased with how far I've got. I'm just going to show you what I've got. I've just been setting up this morning. Is I've now got this waffle board. So this is an alternative to Pivotal Tracker. It's something we use in engineering, and it's interesting the relative pros and cons of the Pivotal Tracker. So the Pivotal Tracker is nice because basically anybody can be added to it with an email address. It's got sort of, you know, a fairly structured flow. It's a very stable piece of software. Waffle is nice because it's basically built on GitHub. So any of the individual issues. Have you used Waffle, by the way, Rajiv?
Yeah, I've used during my lab week. I used for, you know, little activity we did. So
yeah,
I'm aware like how it's linked to GitHub. So yeah, quite interesting.
It's nice. What I find is that the great bonus for Waffle is that if somebody opens an issue on your GitHub repository, then it appears in the Waffle board. So you have a mechanism whereby your customers and your clients can kind of just like sort of push stuff towards you. Whereas if you're using Pivotal Tracker, then you can't, you know, you have to be kind of like signed up for full access to the Pivotal Tracker in order to create new stories. So you don't necessarily want to give, you know, all of your customers and clients complete access to everything in the board. However, then the flip side is that Waffle, which is a little bit less stable, is that you can't start assigning people to things unless they also have collaborator access on your repo. So there's kind of like there's a weird sort of permission thing. So I think Waffle works well if you're kind of with a relatively tight team and they're all going to be given collaborator access, whereas I think Pivotal Tracker is maybe slightly better for you know, a more broader distributed team where not everybody has access to the central repo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the main, I think I'm just going to work out what blocking points I came to. If anything, I ended up with a series of things that, yeah, I mean, we're not blocked. I've got the assignment related to this is all working on Cloud9. Yeah, not blocked, just some more stuff to do there. I need to split up different parts of the grader assignment. Yes, the main thing that's coming out of this is that this legacy assignment, which is working with an older version of Ruby 193, is now harder than it was in previous runs of the course, because we're you know, the students have all been working in 2.2.2, but we're at the moment it seems like we have to ask them to downgrade to 193 to work with this assignment. So it's going to be even tougher than usual. But there we go. It's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say. Yes, and then Yeah, I think that's about the size of it. Yeah. Okay. Well, what we could do, and we could just do it off the back of this hangout. Do you want to have a look a look together at the at that my brain's come on brain the tickets? Yes, you were saying you found this one ticket. Let's have a look at that ticket together.
Yeah, this is the
I'm just trying.
spec parent.
Yeah, I thought
School layout.
Yes, I thought. I think I just had just. Oh yeah, I was confusing myself on the difference. Yeah. Do you want to share your screen? I'll share my screen as well, and we'll
yeah. Okay.
have a look at everything. We might. I mean, sometimes if I'm being really formal, you know, we sort of create a separate hangout. But since we're both here, and you know, we might as well get on with it. So we're going to screen share there. You going to share your screen?
Yeah, this is my screen.
Yeah, so if you mouse over the Hangout, there should be like that series of icons that pops up on the left. The second one down, the green one, is the screen share button. So, and when you press the screen share button, it then pops up another thing. And I would just generally share the whole desktop. There you go. Anyway, rather than any individual thing, but that's fine. So yeah, we're both looking at the same.
The one I was looking at was this particular one.
Yes, indeed, and I've got that up. And so that's from so David Corking.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're both.
This one, module application helper hash parent underscore layout has no spec.
So and Thomas is here as well. Hey Thomas, how are you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Getting stuff done. We've done our bit of the stand up. Rajiv and I were just trying to look at a local support ticket. How are things going with you? How are things going with you?
I'm fine. I just got back from Stockholm yesterday. We had a big snowstorm in the west part of Sweden, so I barely made it to Stockholm. But yeah, I was at the university there, the Royal Technical University, and we signed a deal, and we will be delivering boot camps in Stockholm.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so that's
fantastic.
Cool.
Congratulations. Yeah. All right.
Cool. But now I just finished off the morning stand up with my guys, and tomorrow afternoon I'll have this meeting about with this nonprofit about the refugee thing. And so I'm planning a little bit, depending on what that meeting kind of ends up with. I'm trying to I would try to set a date to put together a team on Agile Ventures to work on something, you know, in that realm, basically. You know.
Great. Yeah. When you say stand up with your guys, has the new Craft Academy cohort kicked off, or
we're kicking off on Monday? But I'm doing the prep course online now, so we're meeting twice a day. This last week, we were meeting twice a day, so the guys are getting into the pace of the boot camp itself.
Great, good show. Yeah, nice one. Things. I'm just. I've been proposing, having an Agile Ventures general meeting 5 p.m. UTC on Friday. We'll try and get people. Do you think you might be available for that?
That's 6 p.m. my time. I can try. I kind of promised my wife that Fridays are a little.
Yeah, no, get home early. Absolutely, no problem.
But I'll try to join in.
I just thought I'd mention it, and we'll iterate. We'll iterate on the time to try and work out something that's good for the key people. Good stuff. Okay, cool. My main focus is on the autograder at the moment, making reasonable progress with that. There's something else. What's the other big thing that I'm got in my? Yeah, no, that's about the start of it. Yeah, cool. So unless we've got anything else to sort out, Thomas, I'll get back to Rajiv and we'll start working on this local support thing.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Are you going to host the afternoon one as well?
Oh yeah, no, Monday to Friday. Yeah, I'm going to be. So maybe see you at 3:45. Or that's 4:45. Yeah. Cool.
All right, take it easy.
All right, speak to you then. Thanks, Thomas.
Bye.
Okay. So sorry about that interruption there, Rajiv. Of course, we're still on the, until the top of the hour, we're still on kind of stand-up thing, so things can jump in and out. Yes, okay, so so looking at this story, so this was about reviewing, we had sort of an epic there, which is reviewing all the features for and specs for thoroughness. So this has been hanging about for a while. It looks like David Corking, who was involved in the project, looked at this. Yeah. So, do you know where to start in order to start working on it?
Yeah, I had a look at the spec file, and then where is it? Yeah, this is the one. And somewhere, I can start a new describe it for this.
Yeah.
Parent layout.
Yeah, good show.
And kind of use this as a start, like the active if whether it's active or not, and then write test for that.
Yeah, sounds like a great place to start. So
what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think so. So I think I mean the key thing there is are you like the way into it? There's a couple of things that you kind of want to do before working. So have you got your local support checked out locally on your machine?
Yes, I have, and I have set up a branch called develop. I can change it to something else, but
Okay.
I have got my.
Yeah. Do you want to show me the terminal window where you've got that going?
Yeah, it's called. Well, this is where I'm running the Hookup.
Yep.
And this is where I actually earlier run the existing application helper spec.
Great. Yes.
And
okay, cool. And then so what you probably want, so that's great. Looks like you're all set up, but
that's my good branch.
So what you should do is you should now click start on this story. That would be the key, sort of the key first thing to do. And so if you click this,
start here, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that may mean that you're not. I think you're not signed in to the pivotal tracker. Yeah, so you want to. So yeah, now you'll need to navigate back to the project. It's interesting that it's not showing you that project there. Now, I think I did send you an invite yesterday. Can you just check if you go to Rajiv, go to your account, the top right-hand corner, and just go to your profile there. Let's just double check your it's your Yahoo username that you've got that set up with. Let me just check that you have the right. Okay. Yeah, so I thought that was the email address that I invited you with yesterday. Let me do this again. Maybe I forgot to press a button or something. Yeah, okay. So it's telling me the invitation is sent to you. You could just go back to the Google, sorry, the Pivotal Tracker if you want and reload, and maybe it will come. I wasn't aware that you needed to sort of like accept on there you go. Yeah, you can see local supports now there. Excellent. Yeah, so if you re-navigate to the same story and click start. Yeah, just click next on that. Don't worry about it. On the bottom, yeah. It's trying to tell you how to use the exit tool. There you go.
And
so you might want to just. I would find it by just typing parent in the search project thing above. There we go. So you can just click start there, and what that should do is that will now move that into the current thing. So you can close that search window. See, it's there, just exactly. And then if you scroll down to the bottom of the current,
there it is.
There you are. You're in it, and what you'll notice actually, if you just open it there, if you click on the little triangle, is that we can see now as a result of starting it, we've got the owners there. Say David Corking, who originally requested it, and also yourself. You've been added as an owner, so people know that you're involved in that thing. Great. Okay. Yeah. So let's go back to the terminal window then. Now you say you've created a development branch or develop branch. Now do you just want to type the word history into this in here so I can just see what you've been doing? It's so. Did you just do git checkout develop, or did you do git checkout -b?
No, I've done git clone
Uh-huh.
and then git branch to.
Right, because basically what we have is
there it is. That's all. Git checkout.
okay. Yeah. Okay. So that what that should be. If you just do git pull origin develop, just to make sure that you're completely up to date with this one. So this is a yeah, sort of before you start work, you particularly in an active project, you never know whether some other stuff has been pulled in. You are up to date. That's great. I guess you ran the test cases recently.
Yeah, I ran both of them.
Did you do that this morning?
No, I done day before yesterday.
But I guess you did it since you did it on the develop branch.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So
they all take quite long to run.
They do. Yes. Especially on a slightly slower machine. Yeah. So the thing to do is now, rather than work directly on the develop branch, what we would usually do now is we would make a feature branch.
Okay.
So and what the format we're trying to get into is using the ID of the ticket for the branch name. So if we look at the ticket, we can see that the branch the ID for the ticket is this. I'm just pasting it into the group chat there. And so what I would be tempted to do now, having got the develop branch all up to date, so you can just sort of copy that. You don't want the hash, but that's right. Anyway, yeah. So copy that. Yeah, and so if you come back to the so do you want to create like a new branch there that starts with that ID? So yeah, so you want to do -b. You want a -b before that. So -b space, and then do an underscore. And so this is, let's give this a describe what we're doing here.
Yeah. Parent
layout or whatever, yeah. Cool. Yeah, and then that will create our new branch for us. And so you've forked and cloned, right, rather than cloned directly. Yeah.
No, first forked and then cloned from my fork.
Yeah. I mean, what I would be tempted to do now is I would be I know the test take a little while to run. I would just as a kind of extra sanity check, and because it can be running in the background while we look at the code, is I might be tempted just there to do bundle exec, rake spec here.
Just stop this already.
No. Leave that. Well, personally, I would leave that running, but I wouldn't necessarily use rackup. There. I mean, maybe it doesn't make any difference, but usually I would be using Rails server, but or Rails S. Anyway, but yeah, maybe kill that for the moment. It's an interesting question actually there about whether rackup versus Rails server. Yeah, there's a little Stack Overflow post here on using, but anyway, you certainly don't need to run that, so you can just leave that for the moment. So if you go back to the other terminal window, so I would just run bundle exec rake spec there. I mean, actually, go on. Let's do it. One thing you can do to speed it up, actually, by the way, is rather than rake spec, you can do rspec and then -fp, and then that will.
rspec.
Yeah, and then -fp, not s and f for format. Yeah, so if you hit run like that, what it will do is it will suppress the output from the thing. So you can leave that running. We ignore that, and let's go and look at the code. Have you got, what code editor have you got?
At the moment, I'll go Atom.
Yeah, so we can look at the code in Atom. So, okay, so we've got this one method in application helper that's says parent layout, and yeah, interesting. And so we don't have any test corresponding.
Yeah, there is no test here.
Interesting. Okay, so and I'm just checking. I'm also on develop on my side. I'm just going to go and have a little look at the same code. So we've got the application helper. I guess it's also, there's a link here to sort of somebody's blog post. Did you have a look at that blog post? Because nested layouts on Rails 3.1.
No.
I'm just having a quick look at that. I mean, I don't particularly remember this being added, so I'm having a look at this. Interesting. You can sort of see where this came from, and you know, I guess somebody who previously was Googling this stuff, you know, was interested in doing some sort of nested layout. So I've got the ability to do inside layout. That makes me wonder. So interestingly, we've called that parent layout, and so I'm going to use on my side, if you just look at my screen briefly, I'm going to use one of the features of RubyMine, which is to find usages and find all the places in the code where that's used. And I see that, we've got that in our different layouts. So we've got, for example, in the full width layout here, we've got, okay, so basically what this is, it's kind of allowing our
within the
structural things to inherit the main application layout. So the two columns with map, which we've got, which is a very common one. So yeah, basically it allows that to be there rather than, you know, inside the application layout. Interesting. Interesting. And what I think that's then related to is, if we go for this organization's controller, that allows us to specify the layout here within our controller and inherit the application layout, which has which has, you know, all of the, you know, gunk that we need for, like, this, that, and the other. Interesting. Interesting. Cool. So does it, I guess it makes sense why we have this feature in here. And then we've got the test itself. So we've got, now where is the test? Have we got
helpers?
Oh, there we go. Helpers, application helper spec.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. Sure. And I'm tempted. I mean, do you want to, I mean, are you in your editor? Don't worry about looking at my screen. Do you want to get your editor so that you can see the two files side by side, so you can see both the spec and the
yeah, that's the spec, and that's the helper.
You got the spec and the helper. Yes. So the interesting question about whether this, you know, how easy it will be to write a little test for this, should be a little unit test. But yeah. So do you want to start trying to write the test?
Okay, I think start. Correct. So one of the thing it should do is it says start layout to output buffer. So is that what needs to be tested first?
Well, it's an interesting thing here. I mean, the kind of what we're basically doing is we're passing in this layout, which is just a string, and so we're setting the view flow in a certain way. Now, and the view flow is then it's interesting with the view flow. We've got the application helper, and I guess the application helper gets mixed in with something else. So kind of it's interesting. The view flow, I guess, will be some kind of thing that a controller variable. And so I guess, what do we have for the other ones? If we look at the application, we've got type helper. Yes, and what I'm tempted to do, looking at the code, is I basically the sort of the simplest thing at the level of the method is to check that, it's to sort of stub the various things out and check that view flow receives this setting in this way, and that the output buffer then also receives the right thing. So it's an interesting question about that. I'm just thinking about there about testing Rails helper methods. I wonder if the sensible thing to do, what helper specs. Okay, what is it? Actually, there's a Rails. Sorry, there's a RSpec helper specs. Yeah, I wonder if we've got some specific things here. We might have some examples. Yeah, interesting. As you can see my screen here. So I'm just reading about how we test the helpers here. Application helper is included in helper objects. I mean, I guess another way of looking at it is, what are the consequences that we
I was thinking, like, if you look at another method, which is say one of these, like where a parameter is passed, and looking at, say, for example, this one.
Yes, the bootstrap class.
Yeah, no, it's not anywhere similar.
Well, I mean, and that's the key thing. Most of the other methods I think that we've got here that we're testing, there's a kind of, there's a simple input and output. So we sort of expect the method to return a particular value. But what we could do in the first instance, just as a way of, I mean, it's an interesting question here about whether, like, to what extent this requires testing. Like, is this kind of a feature of Rails? The guy who's kind of originally done this description of how to do this, and it's kind of, is this a bit of a hack on here? And so to what extent does a test make sense? But I think what would be interesting to do is just actually have, so if you go to where you've got your test, you've started writing it. I mean, why don't we, rather than worrying about how we test it, shall we just call parent layout with a string and see what happens?
So to pull parent layout. This is a basic test, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and almost we can always change that name there, and so we can see, so you can see how to call the method on the. So it's either, this is the thing is, I don't think that we know what the expectation is yet. So I don't think we want to write expect. I think we just write a test that does the calling, and we don't worry about needing an expectation at the moment because we're still exploring what the method does.
So just say parent
layout. Right. You could try that. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, pass it a string. So application is the way it gets used throughout the all the other places.
Okay. Is it the string everywhere? Is it?
It is a string. Yes. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So you could
Okay.
what we could just do is now save that and go back to the terminal.
Yeah.
Now in the background, we see that the tests are all green, which is nice. But now rather than running all of them, let's run that particular test. So if you hit the up key, they're there. You've got it up there. Yeah. Oh, so you could you run the suite for the application helper spec. We can of course run the individual test as well. Interesting. Yeah. So it's got undefined set for nil class. Yeah. So now this is interesting. Can you work out what that error means in this context?
So this one is not known here in the test.
When you say this one, can you be more specific?
The view
flow.
flow, the method set is not known. So do we have to? Do we have to do some allow to get set?
Yes, I think we'll need to. Well, I mean it's. I mean you're saying that something doesn't have the method. What's the more fundamental problem here? When parent layout is running, why does line 30 throw an error?
Because it's unable to do the set.
It's true, it's unable to do the set, but why is it unable to do the set?
Because it may not know the application, is it? I'm not sure.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think whatever word we put in there wouldn't make any difference. I think there's a more fundamental reason. So, like, let's look at line 30 in application helper. So on line 30, what are we calling the method set on?
The method set is on this view underscore flow.
Yeah. So and what is view flow there?
View flow.
Is it a constant? Is it a method name? Is it view flow? What I mean, when you've got the little @ symbol and then view underscore flow, what does that tell you about it in terms of what it is? If you've got an @ symbol and then the name of it.
Well, it's a method probably somewhere.
You think view flow is a method?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I think it's probably not a method, and the reason that I think it's not a method is because it's got the @ symbol at the front. Do you remember if you've got the @ symbol at the front? What does that tell us about what it is?
It's some sort of variable here in.
It is some sort of variable. Do we know what kind of variable it is? Is it a local variable or an instance variable or a constant, or what kind of? You can take a guess if you're not sure.
Yeah, must be an instance variable.
Yes, exactly. It must. I think it has to be an instance variable. And so now, can you see that instance variable being mentioned anywhere else in the file?
No, not here.
No. So, and if we look at our the test that we've got, we're kind of we're creating our application helper. So that I think what I'm thinking here is what this means is that the on line 30 is the first time that we refer to this instance variable. Now, what happens to an instance variable the first time we refer to it?
Well, it should be created as a.
It gets created. That's right. And what's the default? What's the default value for an instance variable in Ruby?
Null.
Nil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nil.
So why can't we call set on this instance variable?
Because it's not there.
Because it's nil. Yeah. And so if we look closely, if we go back to the error message, we can see it says undefined as well as undefined method set. It's for nil class. So that's kind of so you know, in terms of diagnosing the error, I think the fundamental problem there is that the instance variable is not set. Now, the way that the helper gets used usually is it will get mixed in with you know, the application controllers and this and the rest of the Rails thing. But so I suspect that what we can do here is that maybe we could just at least you know, assign the instance variable here. I think this is a common pattern in these kinds of tests. So if we have a look at, I mean, you can see briefly here, I've got the helper spec notes from here. If we have a look, I think we might want to do something like this.
Yeah.
Excuse me. In order to get that instance variable set up so that we can then start to track what happens to it.
Okay.
So do you want to do
something like
yeah, what do you think?
assign
where
is it? So we set that to application, is it?
Well,
no.
we could do. Why don't we try set it to application and let's see what's happens. I think often it's you know we're trying to work out what's the right thing to do, and it's easy to get stuck saying this or that or whatever. Sometimes it's like, you know, just the first thing you think of, do it, save it, run the test, and see what happens. Because you know, if the error, because even if whatever happens, we get more information. So let's run the test again and see what happens now. Because there we go.
It still says set
for nil class. Yes. So that's interesting. Now that makes me think that the view flow there has not worked in the way that I thought it might. Have you saved? You want to double check that you've saved the file?
Yeah, saved.
And both of them have put. Let's go back to the error message. And the error message, yes, it's still saying that for line 30 and it's application helper spec 62. Yeah, let's go back to the test. Go there, 62. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so I'm finding that a little. Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that. I wonder if though. Well, I've developed a theory now about what we could do next to fix this. I wonder, and you know, let me know. I mean, I'm kind of like putting you a little bit on the spot. I think in partly to help you, you know, kind of like bring all the knowledge, because I think there's a lot of stuff that you know here, and it's sort of like, but let me know if you're kind of like, oh, I'm tired and I don't want to be pushed and I just want to get on with it. Let me know.
No. I'm happy.
Yeah, you like how it's going? Yeah. So
it's good.
I've developed a little theory now. Actually, you can look at the documentation that I've got. I've developed a little theory. I think that line 61 is working. I think that there's maybe some other. Well, it's just a guess. I don't know. I wonder if you just looking at the code that we have, and if you want to come back and look at the documentation that I've got up here, can you see anything else that's different between what? I mean, don't worry about the expect thing. Can you see anything else that's different about the way we're doing things and the way it is in the example documentation?
Not really.
No, if you can't see it, don't worry. I think, and this is a guess, I might be wrong, that this might be important here.
Helper.
And I notice it is if we go back to our the code, we can see like in the feature active things above. Notice on line 55, we're calling helper dot feature active rather than just feature active.
Feature active.
Now I might be totally wrong, but I'm wondering if on line 62, before we call parent layout, maybe we need to do helper dot. Well, again, still I don't think we want the expect, because I think we still don't even necessarily know what to. I think we want helper dot, and then I like on line 63. No, well, again, you might be right that it's helper view flow. I was thinking that it would be helper dot parent layout. We should be calling parent layout. So if you go to the but you can just go and then application or what have you. I mean, I was just going to add the helper dot to the beginning of what's line 63, but you're writing it out again, which is fine too. Yeah, and then just deletes line 63. And so let's save that and run that. It might not make any difference. See, again, it's just a guess on my part. I haven't spent a lot of time here. If that's saved, let's run that test again. Let's see. Aha. Now it's failed, but it's failed in a different way. I think we've learned something. I think we've learned something. What do you want to analyze this next failure here?
It's doing application string and it's again failing to set that. That's what it's saying.
Right. So what's the difference between this error and the error that we had before?
So at least we are able to set view flow now.
Are we? I don't know that we are. Let's go back and compare the two errors. What we want to do is like, I don't know if you can scroll them so you can see them both on the same screen. You might not be able to, but look at this error. You've got this one. I'll read it out. Go. Well, it says undefined method set for nil class. That was the error that we had. Now, if you scroll down, it now says undefined method set for application string. So what's changed now? Given those two pieces of information, if we go back to the code, what's changed now from before?
From nil class, it's become application string. So
right,
where it was not setting view flow to application, it's not anymore nil, isn't it?
No. So I think you're right. I think if we look at line 30, when we were doing this before of the application helper.rb, when we were doing this before, the view flow was nil. And now, as a result of, and it's important to think about so now, as a result, so say again?
As of now, like doing that, the view flow has got value, which is application now, which was nil before.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, and it's interesting to think about, we had to do two different things to make sure that we saw that difference. What were those two things? And that was in the applications helper spec.rb. There are two things that we had to do. One of them was the assign view flow application, right?
Yeah.
And what was the other thing that we had to do?
And call parent layout.
On helper. Yes. So it's interesting that we needed to do both of those things before we would see that change. If we just call parent layout, then the assign doesn't work, and I think that's because the assign is operating on the helper. But yes. But so like exactly. So on line 30, view flow instead of being it's still an instance variable. Instead of being nil, it's now it's a string, the string application. Now the interesting question there is, so okay, it can't. That was the same before. It can't call set on a string because it's a string. So I think maybe we need to assign view flow to be something else. What else might we assign it to?
I think we'll have to assign view flow is an instance variable. What? what should it get? It should be set as. No, I'm not getting this then.
Well, and then this is subtle and maybe more complicated. The interesting thing is, yeah, view flow might need to be something quite complicated that in Rails, you know, the way it all works. But in this case, because we're doing a unit test only on here, we can kind of say we don't care what view flow is. All that we care about is that when we're in this method, that view flow is going to be called with the set method. So if we want to kind of make a recording, or like say that we've got something that's like, you know, we could almost talk about here, the view flow is kind of a collaborator of the application helper in this context. Although it's an instance variable, it's because this is a helper is going to be kind of mixed in with another class, that we don't really know anything about that view flow, and maybe we shouldn't. But so can you think about when we're doing testing, if we've got kind of a collaborator that we're doing a unit test, what can you think of some things that we might use to kind of help isolate our test from the collaborator?
Well, use double.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be my thought here, is rather than a string, why don't we just assign it to a double, and then we can, you know, move on from there. So I would make it like a just in there. I mean, we can use. I mean, there's a number of different ways we can create a double. How would you like to create a double? Do you want to create a double there for us to use?
Yeah, just set.
Just
set.
Yeah, I don't know that I would call set there. Why do you want to call set there?
Is it? How do you set the double?
Well, I think let's go back. I think the assign thing is the right thing to do. Go back to the code. I think we're on the right path. Just do like Command Z to get the or type it out again. That's fine. Yeah. There you go. So I think the key thing. I think the assign is correct. I think the problem is not the assign. That's worked well. You know, we've assigned something to the view flow. I think I think the problem is the second argument that we're passing to the assign method. So you chose to pass it the application string, but I think instead of the application string, so I would just delete the application string, and it's there that we want to pass the double in, I would say. So if you wanted to create a double there, what would you do?
I think use the is it in braces? Oh, I'm not sure.
Well, I think we've got a couple of options. So we could just use the word double. We could just write double.
Double
and then you could put like colon view underscore flow in there. And so that's kind of probably the simplest thing we can do there, is now we've just put a double view flow in there. And then we could save it and rerun it and see what happens. So and now we get a different kind of thing. So you want to read. I mean, try this. I don't know. You do this if you want or not. A tip is I would try reading the entire error message out loud, even if you're working by yourself. So just start from the failure error and read.
Failure error. Yeah. Helper.parent underscore layout application. That's what.
Yep.
That's what that string is.
Yep. Okay, and so then read the next. Always, the bits in red. Read it out. So you read out the next one.
The double colon view underscore flow received unexpected message colon set with colon layout comma nil.
Well, that's not nil. It's the empty string. But yes, I know. Yeah.
Just string. So
yes. So now does the mess? I think it's a good habit to get into because it's very easy. I mean, I do it as myself. Is when you're scanning all of this text, is we miss some parts of the message. But so having read all of that, does the message here make sense?
It's expecting something there, but it's receiving nothing. Oh, just a string.
Well. I mean, the way I would interpret this, and one of the things here, what you might want to do, I don't know if you, is I think it's sometimes quite confusing to be jumping backwards and forwards between the code and the terminal window. Do you want to try and rearrange it so that we can, like, if you change the size of your terminal window so that it kind of fits into the bottom third of the screen? So if you just move it around and then, yeah, reduce that. That's right. Reduce the height of it and make it as wide as you can. Yeah, good show. And yeah, and then just sort of scroll in it so we can see the error message, that particularly the bit in red. So just scroll. Yeah, that's exactly there. Now go back to your editor and just click on the editor, and yeah, now move the editor up from the bottom so that we can see. That's right. Excellent, excellent. I think this is a much easier way to work myself. Excellent, excellent. So now if we scroll in the editor to get the relevant bits of both the test and the code that we're looking at sorted. You've gone to this. You're at the top there. Go down, further down, further down. So you want parent layer. Too far down. Too far down. Back up a bit. There it is. There it is. Stop. 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 Yep. Okay. And so yeah, and then you want to, in the application helper spec, adjust the position so that we can see the. There we go. Excellent. So now we can sort of see everything. Now the way that I would follow this, so I'm going. It's like, so let me, if it's helpful, maybe I'll tell you how I diagnose this error message. Yeah. Is that good? Yeah. It says failure error helper.parent layout application, and that's just identifying that the problem occurs at some point after calling, line 62 there, and so you know what that is, and so that's fine. Yeah. Now, if we have a look at this, double view flow received unexpected message set with layout. So now this double view flow, when I see that at the beginning of the thing, that I think is the double that we created on line 61. You see on line 61? Yeah, we've created that double view flow, and we've assigned it to view flow. And this assign here is a helper method from our spec that's saying, on the helper, make the view flow instance variable be equal to this double. Yeah. So a double's like a stunt double. Basically it stands and it doesn't really know what to do. But it can do a limited set of things. Actually, this double here, it's not doing anything. The double doesn't have any abilities. Yeah. It's just merely a stand-in, and anything that happens to it, it's gonna. If we ask it to do anything, it's gonna fail. But so if we follow the flow of the code, so line 62 we call helper parent layout application. So that takes us to line 29 on application helper. Yeah. So we come in through the method. Layouts are just so here on line 29. That word layout there, that layout argument, what value is that? What value is that set to?
It's set to that double.
I don't know. Well, that's interesting.
It's not set to.
Yeah, what's that? What's it set to? That
here, it's to the application.
It's set to the application string.
Yeah,
exactly. String. Okay, so we come in here. That's on line 29. So on line 30, now we've got our instance variable at view flow. What is the instance variable at view flow set to?
The instance variable view flow has got the. We're assigning a double.
Yes, so that is the double. So okay, so then that dot on line 30, we're going to call the method set on the double, and we're gonna with these two arguments, layout and output buffer. So if we look at the error message now, and it says the double received an unexpected message, and that's a message that doesn't know how to handle. So it's got the unexpected set with those arguments. So actually, that's kind of what, this is exactly what we want to happen here. The double is in the right place, and it's receiving that message. Now, actually, for this to all work, we want the view flow to receive that message. So what we might want to do here is perhaps set up an expectation on the double, or maybe an allow to allow the double to actually receive that message and be okay. What do you think we should do there?
So because double is nothing, so nothing is, because double is nothing, so that's why we're getting that error. So instead, to overcome that error, set allow to receive a message that.
Oh, well, I don't know if you mean, yes. So Yeah, so that's do you want to kind of adjust the test so that it will do we can start with an allow. We can maybe change to an expect later. But yeah, start with it. So allow.
Allow
Mm-hmm.
view flow.
Mm-hmm. I'll be back in a second. I'm just going to open.
So hello.
Hey, Rajiv, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, now. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. How are you doing there? You all right?
Yeah. Can't see you. Okay.
I'm not showing you anything. I was just looking at your.
Yeah. Okay.
Just checking in to see. Yeah. So you're about to do that. That allow statement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are you stuck on something?
Yeah. Allow view flow to receive.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to give it some value. Is it?
Yeah. So like, what is the message that ViewFlow needs to receive? On line 30. Yeah. So ViewFlow is the instance variable. What message are we sending it?
Is it just this?
Well, that's an argument that we're sending it. It's not the message that we're sending it. In Ruby,
Oh no.
yeah. So basically, a message is
Sorry, I'm
another.
confused.
That's all right. A message is another word for a method name. Yeah. So and in fact, so you probably there. It's the receive underscore messages above is to allow multiple things. You can just do receive without the underscore message. Yeah. And then so now set there, we'll need to have a colon in front of it because it's the not at the end, in front of it, at the beginning of before the S. We need that. That's right. So we need to allow the view flow to receive the set message.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we won't worry about the arguments, but
yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think this is right. This is correct in general, but I think there are some problems in how this is connected up at the moment. I don't know if you're looking at them. Can you see some potential problems in the way that this is connected up? If you can't, maybe yeah. I mean, so I think well, so the interesting thing here, what you're doing on 61 is you're kind of doing allow view flow the symbol, and the thing is, what we like potentially, if our spec was set up that way, it might. I mean, I think what's happening here is maybe a confusion between on line 62. We've got this helper set up to allow us to do the assign, and we refer to it with colon view flow. But that line 61, that would allow the symbol to receive that method. But on line 61, I don't think that's going to allow the double to receive the thing. So I think what probably the simplest way to do this, if you create a new line above allow, and do just type the word view flow, view underscore flow, like create a local variable, and then say equals, and then let's just do double, and then let's do colon view underscore flow. So then we have a reference to the double. So now on line 62, if we remove the colon from before view underscore flow, now we're telling the double, okay, it's all right for you to receive this message. And then we need to make one more change on line 63. What change might we make on line 63?
Just move.
Yeah, go on. The change. Yeah. What are we going to put in there? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's save that and see what happens now. Should we scroll up a little bit? Ah.
Yeah. Apparently our application double view flow received unexpected message get title.
So that's interesting. So I think what's happened here, I think what we've done has worked. Yeah. And we've moved up to, like, you know, when the thing to notice here is that it's not complaining about set being called anymore.
Yeah.
But it's moved on, and as a side effect of doing some other things, possibly the render being called or something, then view flow, our double's now there kind of like hanging around in the machinery inside Rails, and it's getting hit with other things. So one of the other things that it'll need to be able to do now is it will need to be able to respond to the get message. So if we want it to be able to handle that as well, how could we change the test on, we've set up the view flow so it can receive set. How could we make sure that it can handle receiving get as well now?
Yeah, we'll have to allow view flow to receive get also.
We could do that. I think that's worth a try. You wanna do that?
Can we do it like?
Yeah, I could just copy that over, repeat it. There's some refactorings to make this simpler later on, but I think that's just for the moment. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, you can do. Yeah, is it comma get? No.
Let's leave it there for the minute.
Yeah.
So there's an even more. There's a better way to do the whole thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But so, do you want to just come over there and let's run the test? We can run that test individually if you want by putting colon 59 on the end of the thing, but we'll do that next time. It might give us a bit more space. So scroll up there. Let's see what the. So now, okay. Undefined methods.
That's
HTML
save
for nil class. And you see, now as we start to get into this, you know, we've got this kind of, you know, maybe this is like
provide for all these,
for all these different things. I mean, this one here is, it's like HTML safe has been called on something else that we don't even know what it is. And I would take a guess there that, Could you guess what might be the nil thing that's had HTML safe called on it?
Is it kind of, file?
Well,
It's trying to render a file of name.
That's right.
Layout.
It is trying to do that, but none of those. I mean, like basically what the render is calling a hash, and the hash is set up. I mean,
the layouts.
If the render method led to something being called on that hash, we would have something like fails for that hash. The other thing, if I'm looking at this, there's another thing that we're referring to on line 30, which is the output buffer. And I would suspect that the output buffer is. I mean, I think before it was nil. I would guess that maybe the output buffer is nil, and that so we've assigned the view flow. And I don't. I mean, it's. I'm almost tempted to do. On line 64, we've got assign the view flow. We could try and assign the output buffer to be another double. And this is, I'm just, I don't know the answer to these things. I'm just developing a hypothesis here. That so, I mean, I would copy line 64 and repeat it, and do assign output buffer to output buffer, and then make a double that was an output buffer. So that probably what I would do is, rather than declaring the double there, I'd go ahead and put the word output buffer in there, and then like we have on line 61, I would repeat line 61 and just have a and this is getting a bit long, messy, but if this is the right approach, there are easy ways to clear it up that we can look at. What my fear at the moment is, is there going to be just too much stuff? But maybe this might be the last one or two, and if it is, then we can consolidate on the approach. So if you save that and go back to the command line, and then in the command line, if you hit up before you hit return, put a colon and then 59 at the end of this here, and that will just run only this single test. And if we're lucky, it might allow this to run without all the other gumph around it. But let's see here. Yeah, so it's a bit less. Oh, yeah, I think that's nice. Okay, here we go. Okay, so no, in fact, that seems like actually my theory is wrong, in that I had thought that maybe assigning the output buffer, I was hoping to see something like this: undefined methods, HTML safe for nil class.
Yeah.
I wonder if we look at the stack trace, can we scroll down to the blue code? The stack trace. If we look in the thing, so it's application helper line 31, and then so I think actually here, probably what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do something that we probably would prefer not to do, which is we're going to have to stub. I think in order to write a simple test here, we're going to have to stub the render method. Yeah, I don't think we can we just don't have access to all of the different things. So yeah. So I think I tell you what. Should we do a quick ping pong? So like, if do you want to check in this code and pass it over to me, and I'll show you how I would do the next step.
Okay.
Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to? I mean, you could just save that if you did git commit -am. So git commit -am, and I will.
Okay, I'll commit that.
Yeah, so if you commit that, and then if you do now, if you do git push origin, and then if you type the 7 and hit tab, type a 7, hit tab, yeah, and then hit return. So I can now get set up for GitHub Pong, so I can, let's go and see, if we go to local support, I want this one, and so you will be somewhere in the fork list. Is you? Okay.
Yeah.
So I can then add you, so I can do git remote add Raji. Is how to this is right? I'll just put Raj if that's all right. Do people call you Raj sometimes?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay, there we go. Cool. Saving some typing, and so then I can do git checkout Raj 7, and I'll have that. And of course, what I should sensibly do is bundle exec rake spec. I'll just do rspec minus fp, and just check that I'm in the same sort of situation. Now, one of the things we kind of probably want to prefer not to have. We're going to have one failing test here. But we can squash the commits later on once we've fixed it. But if I come over here, I should be able to see, yeah, this is the one you've been working on. Yeah, I'm sort of set up here, we've got the plan now, and so on. We'll just check that that goes the right way. There's a lot of mess here that needs clearing up. Yeah, so we've got single failure. It's coming in there. I'm just going to get set up to be able to run it a few times. Individually, yeah. So we've got this thing here. So HTML say for the nil class. So I think what we're going to have to say here is, you know, we've managed to stub this effectively. I think the output buffer actually is kind of maybe a side joke. We may still need it. Let's see. But I think what we need to do as well is have sort of an expectation helper to receive render with, and then put in the file, and then we're going to have like that. So let's take, I'm going to take a copy of that there, and then so if we just remove that and we say layout equals that, and we'll pass that like so. Do you see what I've done there?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so we'll just run that and see if that helps. Yeah, and that works.
Yeah.
So now we can potentially clean up our tests a little bit. One of the things that we can do, we've got these allow operations, and it sort of seems like actually, you know, the only thing we really care about, to be honest, I mean, we could have expectations here that the view flow is set. Maybe we could maybe have another thing. But so in this case, rather than setting the allow, we can do this. It allows us to remove these things. And almost, do we even need the output buffer at all? So I'll just run that again, like so. Yeah, so it looks like we don't need the output buffer. I mean, I sort of feel like we want to check that we want render to have been called. You know, it's important that.
So once the render is stopped, then we don't need anything to do with output buffer.
Well, I mean, now this is the interesting thing here is, I think certainly we won't do it this way. Let's get like so. Yes. So I think that I mean, we've got kind of there's actually three things going on in here. So this one here is that it renders the parent layout. There's actually, I think, there's three elements to this code here. So one is that it sets the view flow layout to be the output buffer. I mean, that's if we think about what the method is doing. So we know in here we're describing the method. So I'm kind of tempted just to do this. And so one is do them in order. So it's a one is it
Sets the view flow.
Yeah, sets view flow layout to output buffer.
Yeah, that's first. Yeah.
The first thing. And now here, I mean, I'm also tempted to pull, like we're going to have this out. So we've got kind of the double here, like so. We can get rid of that. It feels like we can do before, we can do that assignment once off the layout application. I mean, I could, to be honest, I could just,
that also cool.
Rather than doing the interpolation, I could just
application
like that, and then just put application like that here. Get rid of that one less line. So like this. So in this one, we would say let's allow the helper to receive render, and we don't care about whether it's there. But the key thing we could say, we would expect the view flow to receive specifically this. We've already allowed, by having this, we kind of allow it, but now we're overriding that and we're saying, right, we definitely want it to receive set, and then with I guess actually here we don't have, I mean, I guess we can sort of say layout, comma, and then we can even do helper output buffer. That's I think what it should be receiving it with. We'll see if that works. Yeah, and so that gives us those two things. Let's say I'll just update this to make it ever so slightly shorter. So that's two things that are happening. We don't need those. In this case, let's pop that back up there and see what happens here. Yeah, so they're both working.
Yeah.
And then so the third thing that happens is that it, and I'm a big fan of just single quotes.
Single quotes.
Although maybe that gets me into trouble, I'm not sure. But for me, because I guess here actually I've got that single quote. No, sets is single quote, like that. Because this is for me, I have a thing called the least power principle. So in any situation, I want to be using the component or the element that has the least power necessary. So single quotes are less powerful than double quotes. The double quotes have the power of doing interpolation, or the single quotes don't. But the other thing it also sets the output buffer to the rendered layout, like so. And so in this case, we would be expecting the helper to receive here. It's going to set the output buffer. So to set the output buffer like this with, and it's sort of, I think we want the results of, so what we can do here is we can set it up so we can now allow the helper to receive render. We don't care what it's received with, and we can say and return like a result, and then we can just do a little result. And actually there, I was almost going to make it a double, but it's so, in this case, we don't even need to do it, and then we just need that. So I'm going to just end up saying here that I'm just going to use a symbol. I guess I should, yeah, I don't know, let's see like that. Now I wonder if this will work actually, because it's got the self on it. Let's just see if those three tests will work together. Okay. Expected one time with arguments results. No, that hasn't worked because I've done that. Allow helper to receive render and return results. Expect helper to receive output buffer equals with the result of the render. In principle, that should work. I think, but I
equal doesn't have output before equal.
Well, I think it is doing output buffer equal. This is the thing here is that we're doing it's calling self rather than output buffer, and that may kind of screw with it a little bit. It's sort of it's expecting this helper class to receive that output buffer equals, and it doesn't. I mean, I don't think this will make a difference. Turning it into a double. I mean, you can see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to basically say that when the render takes place, I want you to stop here and I want you to return this result. And then, I want my helper, that result to be stuck into there. But I have a feeling it's not going to work. And so I'm tempted to jump in here with the. Have you used a debugger before?
No.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna.
Not on here, but JavaScript.
Oh yeah. So I'm tempted to just jump in here and try and use. I mean, Oh, that's interesting. It's not even. Have I saved that? So we've got the. So 74. Ah, okay. I see the problem. So actually, there's interesting there. I just noticed, so I put my bybug statement in here. So if this was being called, then it should have stopped here.
Stop here.
But the fact that it didn't, I was like, oh, it's not stopping. And I realized, I'd missed out actually calling that. So I think if I do that again now,
Stop.
It might stop in the right place, which it does. And in fact, naturally, they will pass. So I think I was correct that I can do all of this, and then so now we can just clean up like a final thing. I could probably do subject here, which is parent layout, and I can actually do the operation. This is a bit. I don't know. Am I being a bit? I've got the same thing several times over. By turning that into the subject here, I can now we just call parent layout at the end of that there. And so we've got before, we've got that expectation, we've got allow helper to receive render. I'm almost tempted to pull this allow helper to receive render up into here. Like so, and then we come down to, do I want to let for this one? I don't really, let's do that. Bum, 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 bum. I'm sorry if I've gone a bit fast there for this, but maybe you can look.
Oh, that's okay.
You can look back over the code. So now we've come in here and we've got, I think probably subject should go at the top. Okay, so now we've got our subject. So that's the kind of the call that we make. We've got a couple of assistant doubles that we're going to be using. We've got those. We've got our little, before each one we get set up, we allow the helper to receive render, and we allow the we set the view flow. And so now we've got the three things that this method does, which are it sets the view flow to the output buffer. So there's that. It renders the parent layout, and it sets the output buffer to the render layout. So if we're lucky, those will pass. We're just on a single one. Let's just run the. Hopefully those three will all pass together. Now this is a dangerous state. Can you tell me? So there's a bit of a trick question. Can you think of anything that we haven't done that we really need to do? Think about the order in which what did we write first, or what was there first? The application. What did we write after the application code? We wrote the tests. So have we done test-driven development?
Have we not covered all of that method?
We have tested all parts of it, but we wrote the tests after the method was written, didn't we?
Yeah,
so is that test-driven development?
No,
it's not.
So
is
we
it?
should have done. Yeah.
Well,
that's done the test before.
And of course, that's not your fault at all, because you've come into a legacy code base where there was some existing code and some test was needed. But so that's a reasonable thing to do. The safety thing here to do is to make sure that the tests now fail in the expected way. So, for example, I can just comment that out here, and I can see,
take them out.
Does the expected one fail? And let's have a little look. And so, yes, we get a failure there.
It doesn't tell.
Okay. So we can then remove that. Let's put that back in. Let's now and let's take this one out. Press the wrong key. Sorry. So now what we could do is, if I take this bit out, right, we still render it. Again, now we should have a single test fail.
Yeah.
So look, is it the right one? Yes. It didn't set the output buffer to the rendered thing. And then if we put that back in, and if I take that whole line out, then now
doesn't render the lookout.
We should see, so those two things fail. So one, it doesn't render, and it doesn't set the output buffer.
Doesn't set.
Yes. Yeah. So now we're, still
proven. In a way, take after writing the test, we kind of commented the code to prove that it's covering all the part we have written in that code.
That's right. Yeah. Which is a kind of, an important. So clearly, in the ideal world, you're writing tests first. Sometimes you have a legacy code base, and there are unfortunately things that are not covered with tests. That shouldn't stop you writing the tests afterwards, but then it's important to do that. So I think we're kind of done there.
Yeah.
We've done that ticket. What probably is the thing to do there? And that's now, hopefully we'll just check that that's all green. I guess I should run the cucumber things as well. Let's just put the cucumber in there as well. Yep, minus format, minus, it's fine. Okay, cool. So I think what we might want to do is we might want to kind of squash those commits. I don't know, maybe too advanced for right now. Let's maybe leave it as it is, and we'll just push it back. And because I need to move on to something else, and we both need to get into makers. Any questions about any of that?
No, quite a good exposure. So I think I'll really need to brush on my what I've learned on Rails. And
did you do your final project in? What did you do your final project in?
It was in a completely different Java. We learned Java.
Yeah, right. So it's been a while since you were doing Ruby and Rails. Yeah. So it's that's the thing. It's easy, to those things end up.
No, but this gets me going. So I'll get back into the frame of mind where I did Ruby. So it's quite good. So I think the rest of the day I'll rather spend.
Yeah, no, I think it's
my old code.
Yeah, it's good to have a refresher and kind of get back into it. And yes, because it's easy, particularly if you haven't been coding for very long. If you then have a couple of weeks break, you can. Everything seems to be green. So I'm going to just have a little look there. So I'm going to do git commit -am. So this is, it completes this is application helper parent layout spec git and I'm in the git pickup -b, so 7. Yes. So I'll make this local. What I'll do is I'll do git push origin 7.0 like that. So now what you should be able to do is, if you go to your screen, if you go back to your terminal, and if you do from there, if you do git, you do git pull origin. Oh no, git. Have you got your upstream set? Do git remote minus v first. You want git remote minus v. Yeah, so you need to do git remote add upstream, and then add the main. And you need the URL for the main local support project. And we should have synced to your upstream at the beginning, but anyway, that's another story. But so the URL that you need, if you just click on that the forked from, see at the top of the screen, you've got Rajiv Hejib local support forked from Agile Ventures local support on the left hand side, where it says Agile Ventures / local support. Yeah, just click on that, and if you just get the URL from the very top, or from there. Yeah, that's fine. And then do that there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so you've got upstream. So if you do git now, if you do git pull upstream, and then type 7 and hit tab. You might need to do no 7. Yeah, you go. Just hit return now. That should probably work.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you want to just run the test there and check that works. Sam's just jumping in. Hey Sam.
Hello Sam.
How's it going? It's always like talking to myself. You were just asking about Pivotal Tracker. I thought I invited you to Pivotal Tracker.
I can't find anything in my mailbox. I don't know why.
Okay, let's just check what the let me find. So I sent it to the GitHub at samover.33 mail. I'm just doing it again on my thing here. Mm-hmm. It says you're already a project member.
Yes, so, I'm a project member, but how I can't seem to log into.
Ah, okay.
Pivotal Tracker.
Do you want to share your screen and show me the Pivotal Tracker login where you're trying to do it?
Right, but let me try it one more time. It's so GitHub samover.there. Yeah.
So Rajiv, are you running the tests locally with your?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've run the test for that.
Yeah. So hopefully that should be all green. You can push that. Yeah. So what the next thing for you to do is to push that up to your branch, and then you can make a pull request. Yeah. And that's the next stage. Can I leave you to get on with that? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So push to my branch and then you pull. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Push to your branch and then do a pull request from there, and I'll review that later today, and hopefully we'll get it merged in, and you will have very soon some code in production.
Yeah. Okay.
Sam, how are you doing? Do you want to share your screen?
Yes. Shall I share my screen with you?
Yeah,
then?
you share your screen.
Let's have a look. Screen 1, I suppose.
Yeah, how many screens are attached to?
Right. Do you see something?
I do. Yes.
Okay, so this is the Pivotal Tracker login.
Yeah. So did you receive an invite previously?
No, I didn't receive an invite.
Okay. And have you previously used Pivotal Tracker? Did you?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Can you just give my normal email address?
I can certainly, yeah. If you'd let me know what your other email address is, then I can.
This one.
Yeah. Okay. So Samuel. Okay, so it says it's sending another invitation. So if you want to check your Gmail or spam filter or whatever.
All right. Yes, now I got it.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, now I got it. Okay. Yep. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's.
You all sorted out.
Now I'll get logged in. Yes.
Okay, great. And do you need? Just, I mean, I need to go fairly shortly, but if you have a quick question, I could answer.
No, I think I know how to continue.
Great.
All right.
Start writing my first test and then see what happens.
Nice one. All right, sounds good. Yeah, well, I'll be in Makers this afternoon, so I'll maybe see you around.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just say, Rajiv, good session. I'm pleased that we.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
We completed that chore, and yeah, I look forward to your pull request.
Yeah. Okay. Then. See you later.
All right, bye for now.
See you then.